Hey guys, welcome back to Daska Discusses. Yes, I've changed the setup a bit, try something different, see how that goes. I'm here today to talk to you guys about Cyberpunk 2077. So let's do this. Now the thing is, I've made some points here about, well, I've made some good and bad points about the game, about my first impressions. I've played probably, I don't know, let's say 6 hours of it, right? Now let's just start off by saying that I did buy Cyberpunk 2077 on the Xbox One. And I know a lot of articles have come out talking about the glitches, etc. and all the issues with it. I'm going to tell you my good points and bad points to the game on the Xbox One, okay? So, how do I put this? Well, we've been waiting so long for this game. It took like, what, 7 years in the making or something like that. And I'm a big open world fan, you know, GTA 5, Red Dead 2, even like the old GTAs, the old Red Deads, Far Cry to that extent. Assassin's Creed, all those games, big, huge fan of it. And I remember I got my friends onto this. I was like, you gotta wait for Cyberpunk 2077, it's gonna be awesome. And we all saw the demo a few years ago, and it looked amazing. Now, I've played probably around 2-3 hours, probably 3 hours worth of Cyberpunk 2077. And these are my impressions, so let's do this. The good points. Well, as I've said here, the good points. The game has that Blade Runner feel about it. Now, if you're not aware of Blade Runner, it's an old film from the 80s where you could say, oh, definitely, Cyberpunk definitely took a lot of influence from it, and I love that. Like, being a Blade Runner fan, even an, Alien fan, Ridley Scott as well, it's got that whole nostalgic feel about it, especially, like, walking around the streets in Night City, it does feel a lot like the film Blade Runner, which was pretty cool, right? I'll give it that. The actual environment looks pretty awesome. It's got that futuristic feel of like LA, and like I said again, that Blade Runner look. Love that. The other good points are, I don't mind the characters. You know, the protagonist V, you get to choose your gender and all sorts of other things as well. In terms of like your mate Jackie and a few other people, again, I'm not going to spoil anything because I'm only, 2-3 hours in. These are just my impressions. You know, I do like the characters and they're believable, some good voice acting as well. The choices that you get with dialogue are interesting. Also, I wonder what the other choices are like. Now, to start off the whole game, you've got 3 separate choices to choose from, like 3 different paths. I think it's Nomad, City Kid, and Corp. I chose the corporate kind of way just to see what that's like, and I'm interested to see what the other gameplay, the other storylines go by. The weapons look cool. You know, I've only had a couple of weapons so far. They look pretty cool. You know, they look semi-futuristic from what I've seen so far, and they work well, kind of. The hacking, now, let's get into the other thing, like the hacking system and the upgrades for that also. There are some pretty cool things you can do with the hacking systems that you've got. Like, you're basically kind of, you're not a cyborg, but, you know, you get different kind of operating systems put in. You can upgrade certain things, you can upgrade how well you hack certain things. And it's really in-depth in terms of that. So there's like a lot of like sitting there through the menus trying to decide what you're actually going to make your character be good at. You know, is it stealth? Is it, physical stuff? Is it the hacking? At the moment, I'm sticking with like being a good hacker. I really like that kind of the way it's gone about that, and the way you can get into these data points and hack them. You know, you have to get your head around a few things. So those good points, and following on from that, having to be able to like actually think about your next move and about the upgrades you're going to do, what's actually going to help you. I find that immersion's really good in the game. Now, the bad points, or the not so good points, the NPCs and the environment pop-ups can be distracting. Now, I know this is on the Xbox One and maybe on PC and Series X and PS5 this is not happening, but I've heard a lot of bad things about the PS4 and even the PS4 Pro to that effect. The Xbox One, like I said, I loaded it up, it's all good, and I was playing for about an hour or two where nothing much happened in terms of like freezing or glitching, but every now and then the environments were like popping up and weird things from the NPCs where you'd be looking and then all of a sudden they just pop up out of nowhere. So there was that. Following on from the NPCs, they were doing very weird things too. So like walking, but then walking through certain objects. I should have recorded it, but that's one thing I want to do in the new year is maybe record some gameplay. But yeah, I think compared to like what other issues people have had, I really don't think that my NPCs that I saw weren't doing anything major. If you watch Angry Joe, you'll see there's all sorts of glitches. The next bad point I've got here is the melee system can be a bit off at times. I find that, you know, you go to punch someone or grab someone, then kind of like there's a delay. Maybe that's with the Xbox One, I don't know. The first hour of the game can be quite dialogue heavy, where obviously, you know, we're trying to get into that story development. I get that. However, I just find that for the, you know, I remember Red Dead, it kind of like throws you into the action straight away. This kind of builds it up, and then only probably, you know, hour 2 or 3 things start getting along. But again, can be a bit dialogue heavy for a lot of people, and a lot of just sitting in a car listening to people speak. Now, the glitches. Now, like I said, in the Xbox One version, I've had the same kind of freeze or glitch where I went to upgrade a certain chip, you know, like get my data hacking up, you know, sit down in this chair and the guy's like, what do you want? Choose what you want. I found at this point where the game actually froze completely, where it was like the guy was telling me, choose what you want, you know, and have a look at what we've got. And I'm choosing, yep, optical upgrades, hand upgrades for the body modification. It clears and then it just stays on that screen where the guy's just repeating himself. And I didn't know what to do. I literally couldn't do a thing. So luckily I went back to a previous save and I reloaded it, and again, same thing happened twice, and I'm like, okay, is this what they're talking about? So went back the third time and it finally worked. I finally upgraded it and went out. Other little points where, you know, you're walking along and like there's the main mission on the map, but then you're walking along and you see like kind of like, I don't know, someone's like doing something illegal. You're like, you know what, maybe I can try and get some points here or get some sort of XP points and do something. And I went over to them and I started like having a bit of a firefight with someone, and again, just frame rate drops, jittery, jumping from like, you know, my character's like shooting them, and then all of a sudden I'm like 3 steps to the left doing the same thing, and then they've all of a sudden killed me. It's like, I get it, you know, maybe I wasn't strong enough to take them on, but again, just the frame rate and the way it was just jumping was just really took the immersion out. So they're my first impressions of Cyberpunk. Again, probably played 1, 2, maximum 3 hours of the game, but I thought, you know, everyone out there is, you know, talking about their experiences. They're my experiences. All in all, I think the game's actually pretty good. It's not, I mean, it could be broken for a lot of people per se, but for me it wasn't too bad. However, I wasn't really, you know, once I stopped playing it, I wasn't really dying to go back into it and play it again. And I think what I'm going to do is just, you know, for now, leave it, and possibly, you know, and for sure, sorry, go back to it when I get the Xbox Series X, because I think there's a lot of potential in this game, and it's pretty awesome. However, I just think at the time, at this point, you know, I didn't even mention about the driving. The driving is just all over the place. It feels like I'm on ice skates, you know. I know GTA 5 feels like that at the start until you get your driving perk up, but this just, it just felt very strange and very jagged to me. So, all in all, I'm not going to give it any rating. I'm just going to say that I'm going to wait for the Series X. Those are my first impressions on Cyberpunk 2077. Like I said, guys, well, like I said, I'm telling you now, if you like this video, please leave a like. Hit the subscribe button if you want to stay subscribed to my future videos. And I'll see you guys on the next episode of Daska Discusses. Boom!